Hey team, this is Jen Young here. I'm a facilitator and an event host who is passionate about creating intentional, high energy spaces where women can reconnect with themselves and each other through real, honest conversations. Right now, I'm hosting a series called The Power of Now, and she is back, baby, because we are officially in our health is wealth era. Now, these aren't just events, they're experiences. They're electric gatherings of women who are ready to be bold, be present, and to take their power back in real time. The power of now is a call to action, to stop waiting for the perfect time and to start living with bold, aligned intention right here, right now. Our next event is called Ignite Your Mornings, and I've invited none other than our routine queen, Kristen Woodford, to lead us through a powerful and practical session. Kristen's here to help us explore what intentional time in our mornings can do for your energy, your focus, and your sense of control throughout the day. You'll leave with real tools to create morning routines that work for you, one that's doable, aligned, and energizing. So you're invited June 12th to join us that evening for the Power of Now Ignite Your Mornings. Let's rise with intention together.
Hi, I'm Kristen Woodford, the Routine Queen. Podcast host, keynote speaker, and motivator extraordinaire, I help up-level women's lives one healthy habit and mindful day at a time. I wasn't always a fan of routines and early mornings, and spent most of my life feeling that although life was great, there seemed to be something that was missing. I was missing a piece of my spark, and over the years, I have built a foundation of healthy daily habits and rituals that created my own secret sauce for feeling the best I've ever felt. I realized that the secret had been right there inside of me the whole time. If you feel like your spark is more of a pilot light, then this podcast is for you. Throughout the podcast, we will cover all areas of life, including the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. It's time to move from feeling like you're just trying to keep up with to-do lists and into feeling like you control your day and ultimately your life. Increase your energy, be present in the moment, and find joy in all moments of life throughout the day. Thank you for joining on this journey. Now let's see how we can up-level today. This is the Routine Queen podcast, healthy habits and mindful living. Hello, welcome to today. I am Kristen, your Routine Queen, and welcome to Wednesday. Okay. Today I actually wasn't sure what to talk about. And so I was having a chat with my 6-year-old and I said, hey, she knows all about the podcast. She's a big supporter and cheerleader for sure. There was a point when she was on it, not like but just a little tag at the end. Maybe I should get her back. Maybe I should get her on as a guest one day because her and I have some really good life chats. And she's got a lot of advice, like wise worldly advice. So anyways, I was having a chat to her and I was like, hey, what do you think I should talk about on the podcast this week? And she thought for a minute. She's like, well, I want to talk about creativity. And I was like, okay, tell me more. What do you like? Tell me more. And she's like, maybe you could ask how they get inspired and where they get their inspiration from. And so this, if you're watching on video, is a little sheet that she wrote for me with the questions so that I wouldn't forget. And then she drew a little self-portrait, which is great. And then I asked her those questions, and they're the same question, just asked in different ways. Because when I asked her the second question, she's like, well, I just answered that. So anyways, today we're talking about where do you get your inspiration from and how do you get inspired? And maybe this is, maybe because when I think about inspiration, sometimes I think about, like painters getting or artists getting inspired for their latest art creation, or a composer coming up with their latest song on the piano. And sometimes I forget that inspiration also comes in the way of like putting a meal together or creating an outfit that we're going to wear for the day. Or maybe it's curating a morning routine that works for you and you need to get inspired. You're looking to get inspired for that. Maybe it's inspiration about what to say to your kids in a specific teaching moment or situation. Maybe it's getting inspired with what would make me feel my best today, or inspired with like, truly, what do I want out of this life? So inspiration comes in all sizes and shapes and forms, and it's not limited to just one thing. And sometimes I think that we fall into the trap of thinking that people are either inspired or they're not. And, like artists are full of inspiration, but every single person can get inspired with whatever it is that you're working on or trying to create or trying to do. And sometimes we get so bogged down by life and roles and obligations that we simply lose that inspiration and that zest for life and the fun. So today we're talking about inspiration, creativity, and fun. And when I asked her how does she get inspired, she said, I mostly get inspired from the things around me. And I said, okay. Well, and then she said she gets inspired by mama, but I think she was just playing me up with that one. So I asked her to explain a little bit more, and she's like, well, I look around to see if I can find anything that inspires me. Listen to this. This is point 2 that she made. If I can't find anything, I either color or move on to something else. And quite often she'll ask me, like she loves drawing. So she'll sit down to draw a picture, and sometimes she'll be like, I don't know what to draw. And she's like, Mama, what should I draw? And I mean, sometimes I'll say, oh, why don't you draw blah, blah, blah. But more often than not, I will say, well, what does your body want to draw? What does your heart want to draw today? And sometimes she'll say, I don't know. And then she'll sit there quietly and she's like, I have an idea. It always comes to her. Or like she says, she goes and does something else. And I think that this is good advice. And I think that it's something that we hear often, where it's like, if you find yourself stuck on something that is not working, like you just can't get the idea or you just can't get something figured out, we seem to cling on to it harder because we're trying so hard to get it figured out. And it's just like, you could hear it in my voice. My fists are like clenched and we're just like, ooh. Well, that does not lend itself well to creativity and to free flowing energy and to fun. And so perhaps, why don't we just take a break from whatever it is that we're doing? Maybe it's a homework problem that we're working on, or like a work project that we're trying to figure out. Why don't we just take a step back? Just put the stuff down, because they'll still be there in half an hour, and go for a walk, or go and sit down and play the piano. Even if you're like terrible at it, just go play chopsticks or something, or go create a cocktail. Do something, not saying drinking, but like do something different that you enjoy, that you don't have to think too hard about, and you can just get lost in the moment. And then more likely than not, something will come to you about the original thing that you're trying to figure out. And so if you're like, okay, Kristen, like you're going off on a tangent, and I don't see how this relates to mindful living and healthy habits. And I would say that it relates very well. And so sometimes when we get so focused, like laser focused, it's good to be focused and laser focused for sure. But sometimes we get so tunnel vision on something that all of a sudden everything else disappears. And in that everything else may be some alternative solutions or ideas or something. And all of a sudden we just like narrow it down so fine that we are blocking ourselves. So let's unblock, let's unstick and unblock ourselves and get some creative juices flowing. If you're trying to make a change in your life, if you're trying to get up early, if you're trying to work out, if you're trying to decrease screen time, these are all things that I'm struggling with to do consistently right now, even though I know the benefits. Sometimes it's still hard to do them every day consistently. Maybe, maybe you just take a step back and say, okay, what is something that feels light and fun to me? And Maybe for you, it's bike riding. This is definitely not for me. I don't enjoy bike riding, but maybe that's it for you. So maybe you go for like a long cycle, and that's how you get your body moving. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, after, a day or a few days of that, you're like, maybe I can try something else. Maybe I can get up a little bit early, go for a longer bike ride. You can mix it up and things don't have to be a certain way. So loosen your hold. That's the whole point of this, is loosen your grip, have some fun, take a step back from whatever you're getting stuck on, and just stop focusing so hard on that for a minute and focus on something else that is lighter and easier and fun. If you listen to Abraham Hicks, they say the more you focus on something, it's like if you don't want something, if you're like, I don't want, and now I can't think of a single example of what this would be, but like, I don't want to get picked for jury duty. I don't know why that came up. I've never been picked for jury duty. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. You are creating a vibration of attracting that. And if you don't believe in vibration and frequency, then that's a whole other discussion. But you're focusing so hard on the not wanting it that you are drawing it to you regardless, because you're focusing on it. And the universe doesn't understand the word not. It just hears like jury selection and it's pulling it towards you. And so we're like, yeah, if you are trying to change something in your life and you're like, ooh, I don't want, insert whatever it is for you, you got to stop focusing so hard on what you don't want and just like being a little bit more loosey-goosey and a little bit more flowy so that you can allow in things that you do want. So yeah, let's get some creativity flowing. Let's have some fun. Here is some rocket science advice that I bet you've never heard before in your entire life. Are you ready? It's this. Bring more joy into your life. I feel so silly saying something so simple, and yet I know that everyone listening and everyone in the world, if you say, like everyone that's an adult, because kids do a pretty good job of having joy for the most part. If you say, how much joy, like pure joy, do you have in your life? If you were sitting there saying, I have a lot of joy, amazing. Celebrate you, like celebrate the crap out of you, because that's amazing. And I know that there are a lot of people that don't have nearly enough joy and they feel like they can't. They feel like life is just too overwhelming and there's too much to do and there's no time for fun and no time for play. And my daughter will remind you, as she reminds me on a regular basis, that grown-ups need to play more. And then I tell her that grown-ups also have a lot more responsibilities, that they just have to do some not fun stuff for a little while. And she is also right. We do need more fun. And you know what happens when you become a grown-up and have all these extra roles and responsibilities? We have less and less time for fun. Do you remember back when you were in like high school or like your 20s and all you had was time? It didn't feel that way when it felt like life was very busy. But then once you get a job and maybe have kids and have all these other responsibilities, and you think back and you're like, wow, I really had a lot of time back then, even though I didn't think so. Like, what did I do with all that time? So, time, I get it. There's lots of things that eat up our time more and more. And we can always create time for more fun and more joy. But the thing is, you have to actively work to create it. And you probably have to put it in your schedule, because it's just like your morning routine. If you don't, or time for yourself or what have you, if you don't make the time, you will never find the time. And so if you're like, yeah, it would be great to take myself on a date and do something that I've always wanted to do. Maybe it's like pottery. I used to love pottery. Not me personally. I really want to take pottery, but I'm just saying maybe this is you. Or I used to paint when I was younger. Again, not my example, but just using it as an example. But then life got in the way and you haven't touched a paintbrush or a pottery thing. I can't think of what the name is. in years or decades. Well, maybe it's time to break it out, because in those moments when we do something that bring us complete and utter joy, we get lost in the moment. We fill our heart. We give ourselves rest in part, and we give ourselves the ability to experience joy. And you know what that brings? Joy in all other areas of our life. So go and take the 1 hour to paint by yourself or do whatever it is that you do. Come back to your roles and responsibilities, and you will come back refreshed and renewed. And then do it on a regular basis. I'm not saying do it every day. I mean, if you can, all the power to you. But if you can't, maybe it's once a week or once a month, but have that scheduled regularly so that you are not feeling resentful for like never having time for yourself. Because guess what? No one is going to force you to put an hour in your calendar to go do something for you. Or chances are that's not going to happen. You're going to have to do it for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm here to say, if you need permission, you don't need permission. Just, it's life. You deserve that. And so does everyone else. So make some time for joy and for fun. Okay. So I want to know, your invitation for this week is to do something for you that is truly just for fun. I would say preferably by yourself. And if you're like, but that doesn't bring me joy, then do it something with someone else. But if you've ever read The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, there's a few different things that you must do to do the program fully. One of them is your morning pages. So free writing 3 pages every day. And then one is a weekly artist's date. So once a week, she does say solo, take yourself on a date and do something that is just purely creative and just for fun. So that is the invitation to you. Do something for you this week that is purely just for fun and creative, because you deserve it. And have you seen those reels on Instagram? I'm not on TikTok, but I think they're on TikTok too. But where it's like, I almost forgot that this was the point. And then it goes into all of these like pictures and videos of like having fun and being with family and friends and all the things. Well, here's the thing. Sometimes, quite often, we live in a world where we forget that the whole point of living is to actually live. Yeah. So how can you find a way, even if it's just this minuscule moment, to live this week? Okay. That's what I got for you. Thank you for listening. If you happen to be listening to this on Wednesday, June 11th, then this is your very last call to get your ticket for the Power of Now Ignite Your Mornings event in Calgary in person, which is amazing and exciting because these don't happen in person very often. It seems like everything's virtual nowadays, which is also great too, but in person is great. Anyways, we're having our event tomorrow night, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, so Thursday, June 12th, and you can snag possibly a last minute ticket. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week, and ciao for now.